All right, so we've talked about batteries. So let's talk about what, the common question is, what can I run on solar? So let's talk a little bit about solar panels.
Okay. Well, that is a common question I get or you see that. What can I run off solar? And the short answer is technically nothing runs off solar. It runs off your batteries. But solar is an important piece to recharge your batteries. And that's really all solar is. It is a mechanism to harvest the sun's energy and silently recharge your batteries all day long. And we can get more technical about what that means but for the most part, that's all it's doing is recharging your batteries.
Okay, so it's just like like these big windmills you see out in the middle of nowhere, where it's using the wind energy to feed energy into a battery that's then stored and done something else with. It's simply capturing the sun's energy and putting it into the battery.
Putting your batteries, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally when we get to the panels, we've already had a conversation about the batteries, because that kind of determines how many panels or what type of panels, how many do you want. And the RV, of course, plays a little bit of a role in that.
When you say the RV plays a role, the physical size of the RV?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Are they in a small teardrop, or are they in a 40-foot, fifth wheel? Do they have a lot of real estate on the roof and stuff?
Okay.
So let's talk about the panels. Most people, RV size panels, there's a common term called 12-volt panels, but it's really RV size panels in the 100 to 210 watt range is about the largest RV size panel. And they're RV size because they generally fit alongside the roof, alongside your AC and stuff, and you can line them up and down the side of the RV on the roof, and they still fit. The other type of panel would be commonly referred to as a residential size panel, and these are anywhere from 250 watts, and they're getting up to 400 plus watts.
Wow.
And our residential size panels can work for RVers, but there's a few caveats to keep in mind, and one is their size. They are pretty large, and so it depends if you can fit them on your roof or not. But there are some advantages to one or the other, and I usually talk to that with my customers about what fits their needs.
Okay. So. All right. So you look at the amount of real estate that's available, and you look at what is their lifestyle, what are they trying to get out of their battery bank, and then what solar you need to feed that battery bank. Correct.
And depending on their battery chemistry might help us determine how much solar that they're going to need. So whether they're full-timers or part-timers, or are they out in the wintertime, because the sun angle in the lower sun in the wintertime actually makes it a lot harder to produce a significant amount of power. Shorter days, lower sun angle, all adds up to not as good as solar energy. And the summertime, in the middle of summer, anywhere in the U.S., you're getting, as long as you're under trees, you're getting good solar. So that surprises some people that in the wintertime, you can be down as 50% of your solar production. And some people don't plan for that. Or on rainy days or cloudy days, they just have a hard time making it through. So if they've got a generator they don't mind running as a backup, then that may come into to play. Or if they say they absolutely do not want to run a generator, or they don't have one, then we may, try to design a system with more panels so that they can make it through those cloudy days or the winter days, or they might be tilting their panels.
Okay. So. All right. So you mentioned tilting, so let's go there. So when you say tilting, so I've seen on RVs where they actually are mounted in a way that allows you to park, so your rig is getting a lot of southern exposure, and at least here in the northern hemisphere, which presumably most of you are in, and then you're able to tilt your panels so they are getting more direct sunlight.
Correct. From the lower sun angle, when you tilt, you end up with getting a significant increase on your solar. And this is mostly for the winter months, from like November through February, when the days are shorter and stuff like that.
And that's just a matter of your mounting style. And it's really a question of, that all goes back to your RV lifestyle, and the conversation that they have with you in the beginning is, if they're going to be full-time boondocking and they're going to be out all through the winter months, then maybe they want to consider having a tilting panel.
Yep. Or some people are just like, I absolutely do not want to get on my roof, and in that case it might just make more sense to just put more solar up there to accommodate the lower sun and the shorter days. And it's very possible to do that too.
Okay. Awesome. And one of the things we talked about is you have a general rule of thumb about the amount of solar, the wattage that's being captured, the amount of wattage based on their battery bank and their lifestyle. So talk a little bit about that.
So this is a general rule of thumb because it really depends how much they discharge their battery and how much they use. But if they're lead acid battery family, and this goes for the flooded lead acid or AGM, a minimum would be about 1.5 watts to 2 watts per amp hour of battery. So if you have a 100 amp hour battery, you should have about 150 to 200 watts of solar. That's a pretty minimal system, but that can be. And then as you go up in battery size and you get up to, or you might go up to lithium battery, then it becomes more either to a 2-to-1 or even a 3-to-1 ratio for lithium. And that's because now you have 100% usable amp hours on the lithium batteries. And if someone comes to me and says, I don't want to run a generator at all, I might even suggest they go 4-to-1 just to offset, that use.
Okay.
And it generally seems the larger your battery bank goes, the more you want to grow the solar too, to have that extra power to replenish that battery bank.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Yeah. Can you put too much solar on your roof or too little? I mean, well, obviously you can put too little, but can you be over solared, so to speak?
Well, you definitely be under paneled, as we like to call it, and it's kind of frustrating unless, because you're having trouble getting your batteries full every day if you don't have enough solar. So in that case, it may be a roof limitation. Vans frequently run into that. They just don't have the real estate for a lot of solar. So they may use alternate means like alternator charging, DC to DC charger, built-in generator or portable generator. There is a thing as being over paneled, although most people don't complain about having too much solar.
Okay.
Like you can definitely, there's really no limit to how much solar you can put on your roof, and there's certainly some rigs out there with a lot of solar, and you can do a lot when you have a lot of solar on your roof. It just depends on your budget. Solar is actually a pretty cheap portion of the entire picture when you look at building a solar system.
Okay. And
some people are like, I'm just covering my roof in solar and I'm going to enjoy having that, and that's certainly a possibility.
Okay, that sounds great. So let's talk a little bit about, I hear this discussion about mono solar panels versus poly solar panels. I have no idea what that means. What is the story there?
So there's monocrystalline panels and polycrystalline panels. And mono just means basically that you end up with more wattage per square foot of the panel. These days they're actually both very good panels, but if you're looking for to maximize your roof space, mono panels is how you would do it. But there's nothing wrong if you find a good deal on poly panels and you want to put those on your roof. Just know that they're just a little bit bigger for the square footage that you're getting of power. Okay,
so there's no pro or con necessarily besides that one.
Yeah.
One versus the other.
Yeah, these days they're both very good built panels, and it's just the manufacturing process that determines what type of panel it is.
Okay, all right, excellent.